All right. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the Weston Ideation Lab. My name is Lynn Bashinsky. This is our first spring Founders Forum session, and we want to welcome all the students, staff, faculty, and our guest speaker, Drew Anderson from Cleveland Kitchen, famous to have started Cleveland Kraut.
Yeah, we changed the name 2018.
Okay,
Yeah.
and thank you to Nate Ward, who heads up the SBDC export area for CSU. And thank you, students. Students, if you don't mind signing in, you will then be on our very informative Weston Weekly, which comes out every Monday, announcing all of our fabulous events. So before we get started, we just want to let everyone know we have an upcoming innovation challenge, April 9th and 11th, when we are bringing the Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Food Bank, not including Cleveland Kitchen, and CSU Athletics. They're presenting problems, forming teams to solve things digitally. It's going to be a great event, giving away top prize $1,000. 800 and 500, lots of food, fun. And then our summer accelerator, we're taking applications, all in the Weston website. So go to CSU Weston, all of our events are there. We want to welcome Shanna Greathouse, who is a superstar in the startup world, and Steven Simpson, who is a superstar in the social media world, and all my new friends from BAT, Grant and Garrett from engineering, and the two twins from business school. And I don't know you ladies, but I'm sure you're lovely. And a nice young lady who I met in the business 151 class. So all the running around I've been doing all week has paid off. And welcome everyone. For those that I didn't thank you, John and Chris and Patrick and Meg. All right, so we're going to kick it off now, and we have a fun hour of chatting, and I'm sure we're going to learn a lot about Drew's entrepreneurial journey and where he started at CSU.
All right. Thank you for everyone joining us today. I am really looking forward to this conversation with Drew Anderson. I'm really excited on behalf of Weston Ideation Lab that we're able to secure his participation. To look at his background, the journey that he and his company have had, I hope that there's a lot of things here that people in this room can take away from, really be inspired. I had the opportunity to get to know Drew and his company way back years ago. I've been here in my role for about 14 years now, and to see your growth personally from the early conversations of some of the early struggles you've had, but now to go into all kinds of different stores in the area and even other parts of the country to see his products in the store shelves, to know that there's this connection and what the story behind it has been inspiring. Let me just share with you a little bit about what I know about Drew, and I'm sure he'll fill in a lot of the other areas that I don't touch on, just to make everyone familiar with where he started and what brought him to today. So Drew is an alumnus of CSU. He graduated here from College of Business in 2009 with a bachelor's degree in statistics with operation supply chain in there. He did a supply chain internship before he graduated, but then I guess your career didn't start off, I should say, in this world of food production. I guess you started off in mortgages and banking. Is that right? And
Yeah, it was banking.
Yeah, banking. Okay. But then fate brought you outside. You moved to Virginia for a little while after graduating?
Yeah, SunTrust hired me in their credit analytics group. So my degree, emphasis on statistics, like programming, forecasting, modeling, things like that, big data stuff for banks. So I moved to Richmond, Virginia to work for SunTrust for about 4 years.
About 4 years.
Yeah.
But then KeyBank called you back to the Cleveland area, and
KeyBank brought me back to Cleveland 2013.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and it was around that time, right, that the idea started for this company. Is that right?
Yeah. And again, thank you all for having me. I love coming back to the alma mater. We like to say the genesis almost started. I did really have a food background. My mother was a like a biologist turned chef, and then she was really focused on local foods, farm to table, and she started 30 years ago all the farmers markets around Cleveland. So like Shaker Square, Saturday Market, the Crocker Park Market, it's like 10 or 11 of them. And so we grew up, schlepping cabbages, setting up market tents. It was like a summer job. We'd be managing markets. So we were around food from an early age. So coming back to food was like, coming home. But yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
And so this is also a business that you started with your brothers.
Yeah. So, when I was in Richmond at SunTrust, I was kind of missing Midwestern fare, sauerkraut, pierogi, kielbasi, things like that. So I just started making that stuff as a hobby. I really took to fermentation. Fermenting cabbage is pretty easy. And so it's just kind of fun. And when I came back in 2013, my older sister was engaged to Luke Visnick, and I was getting to know him kind of over a beer one night. He pulled out a jar of sauerkraut that he had fermented, and we're like, this odd coincidence. We're eating it out of the jar. It's crunchy, delicious, vibrant. Like, we know that it's live and probiotic. We're not seeing this type of product on shelves. And so we did some research, and globally, fermented pickled vegetables is like a $15 billion category, and it's really starting to grow in the United States. And then there was like, for startup food brands, there was venture capital out there. There's private equity money. Like, there's potentially a capital pipeline to fund growth. And then we had the farmers markets that we could test things at. So we're like, hey, maybe we should do this. Like, he had the entrepreneurial bug, as did I. And so we came up with like 20 different some odd recipes, called my younger brother, the third co-founder, Mac. And he was finishing up his degree at Miami. And we taught him how to make sauerkraut over the phone, told him what we were up to. He was pissing off his roommates with the smell. But they loved it, throwing in ramen on hot dogs and stuff like that. And so in early 2014, we went to a little commercial kitchen actually up the road on Euclid. And, I was at KeyBank. My brother-in-law, Luke, is an architect by trade, and my younger brother was in the finance group at Jones Day. And 3-4 nights out of the week, we would go to this little commercial kitchen, make sauerkraut till 3 a.m, day jobs during the day, do that. And on the weekends, we were just hitting every farmer's market, every event, deli style, kind of learning the pitch, honing our recipes in, until we figured like, hey, we think we have something. So we all kind of quit our jobs in 2015, raised like 50 grand, built our own little commercial kitchen. We couldn't find a co-manufacturer to produce our stuff that would kind of adhere to the quality, kind of the scientific black box we developed. So we're like, all right, we'll make it ourselves. And so we built a little commercial kitchen out on Lakeside, one of those big buildings, and took like the old infirmary of that building because it was drains in the floors. And so built a little commercial kitchen there and launched a retail product like Heinen's butcher shops towards the end of 2015. Yeah.
So I remember visiting that location to see how far you've come since the early inception and launching your company. If you haven't already looked up Drew or his company, I mean, it's really impressive, especially recently, just what kind of growth they've had. So Drew has been named to the Forbes 30 under 30 list. His company last year was recognized as Cleveland's second fastest growing company in Crane's Cleveland Business Magazine. And they were also recently named Instacart's among the 25 fastest growing brands. I asked him just how many people worked, and even like what was published online, I said, oh, there's about 50 people or something. He said, no, we're up to 180. So it's quickly, I think, we're finding out just how many people are interested in fermented foods. So I'm just curious, people in the audience here, have any of you tried any Cleveland Kitchens products before? Yeah, it's really great. So this is terrific. I mean, and what a success story. So, well, tell us a little bit about the early years. Since this is the natural place to start, thank you for kind of recapping some of the initial inspiration and the discussion with your brothers and the inspiration from your mother. Tell us about like some of the early problems. When you first moved into that building, give us an idea of what are some of the things that you had to overcome, maybe that you never would have imagined. Like, oh my gosh, like we got to do this now. I'm sure there's so many that count,
but today we're at 180 people. We're the #1 sauerkraut brand in the United States. We're the number one kimchi brand in the United States. We're like the number 4 refrigerated pickle. We like launched all these other products. We're sold all 50 states, everywhere from Whole Foods to Walmart. We're everywhere. And, we kind of dreamed that. But we didn't know anything about like food safety, quality control, and full, the certifications you need for a factory, like all that stuff we had no idea. And so we were just kind of putting one foot in front of the other and just like, hey, we just need to make this product that people seem to like. It's a really safe product, which is good. So the FDA wasn't super concerned that we didn't have, the amount of certifications and whatnot, but every day was a new problem. We would literally, a live product into a glass jar back then, and so it would bubble up and leak on shelf, and then we'd be getting into Target, and a couple local Targets, and they'd call us and say it's covered in beet red sauerkraut juices all over the freaking shelf, and trying to figure out like how do we like innovate on packaging so a live product can breathe, and like where can we go and who can we call to figure that out. Or we had a new order come in, Wegmans launched us, I remember this clearly, and we literally had to like knock down walls to make more fermentation space, and it was like, this is excellent, we get more sales. Oh crap, like how are we going to make this stuff? And then like hiring, I think one of the biggest early challenges is, I had some teams when I was in banking, like a couple of analysts would work for me. But like we didn't really know how to manage and how to set goals, how to, KPIs, how to hold people accountable. And so, or how to be a CEO, to be honest. And so that was difficult. You hire people in, you're just trying to like do your best to make sure like they're happy, but you're also getting what you need out of them, and there's like a pathway to grow. So there was a lot of challenges every day, still to this day, challenges.
I've met all kinds of business leaders that would say, give me products, give me processes to managing people, and like all the messiness that could come with it, and retaining people. I was visiting a company last week in Hudson, and they said they had like 3 people in a row that they hired and were excited to start, and they just ghosted them. Didn't even show up at all, and like how you plan out everything, and where are these people? What?
This week we hired, super excited, did a big search for a head of supply chain because we've been struggling to find the right person in that role. Came in for 1 day and left. That was it. And like that, like you got to look at that optimistically. It's like that is a very odd behavior thing to do. Like it's a good place to work. People are happy. Like it's odd behavior. Like the downside is we spent all this time. We waited weeks for the turn in 2 weeks notice of the previous role, like et cetera. But the upside is like that's very odd behavior, and probably dodged a bullet with someone who is super unprofessional like that. But like to this day, like there's issues with finding the right people and the right fit. But yeah, you talk about processes, like we had no processes, and our processes we grew 26% from 2024 to 2025. We're expecting another 30% growth this year. Like that, your processes will break. And so you think you got something lined, but 30% growth will break anything. And so you have to continually rebuild your processes for growth. Yeah. Sorry, I'm focused on problems.
No, yeah, that's all right. Yeah. I mean, but this is the nature of this discussion. I think we often think about the troubles that businesses have, and the obvious one that people think about is what happens if the bottom falls out? What happens if the sales crash? And of course, like we should rightfully, be focused on all that. But another thing I see in certain companies, if you're lucky enough, is what happens if things grow too quickly? That presents a different type of problem, and that could even like put too much pressure, and you're kind of collapsing yourself. And so. It sounds like you've had some experience with that of like, where that's dangerous, and that's a great problem to have, but not one that people think about of like that can be dangerous to grow too quickly.
It's something that like young entrepreneurs, I'll tell them all the time, like the idea for the product is important, but it's not really the most important thing in my mind. It's like young entrepreneurs will come and say, I have this idea, but like there's other companies doing it, and like I don't want to, like forget about the competition for a second. Like there's a million things, just because they have the idea that they're in market, there's a million things that you don't know that they're dealing with. Do they have enough capital? Are they growing too fast? Do they know what they're doing? Do they have good managers? There's a million things that'll take down a business. And so like, if you've got a good idea, just pursue it, because your competition out there that you're worried about, they're dealing with all kinds of things that you don't see from, reading about them online.
Is there a time when you thought that maybe the business could have gone one way or another? Like there was this inflection point, or it was really pivotal, and I don't know, it kind of set the course for us. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple times. I think the first one, it was somewhat of a hobby, like a hipster company, like we were just selling at farmers markets, and I don't even think we really believed that we would have success. But I remember somewhere in 2015 when we had launched our retail product, gotten on the shelves of real retailers, Giant Eagles, Heinen's, etc. And like I realized, like, I'm going to be doing this for a while, and like this could work. And you kind of drink your own Kool-Aid, and it was like, okay, I got to go full bore. And there was maybe some barriers in my mind that I didn't know were there, that like, this might work out, it's whatever. And then now it's like, we got to do this. Like, we have followers, people like this stuff, and it's selling. I'm drinking my own Kool-Aid. Like, this is what I'm doing, likely for the next 5 to 10, maybe longer years. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was other times where, we acquired a company in 2022 during our Series A. We acquired Walmart had asked us towards the end of the pandemic to get into refrigerated pickles, and we were just starting to sell sauerkraut and kimchi with them, and they'd asked us, hey, we're struggling with supply chain and getting these other refrigerated brands up there. You guys seem to have capacity. Can you make under your own brand a refrigerated pickle to help us fill shelves? And so it was something that we had wanted to do. Walmart calls, and that's your launch partner. If Walmart's your launch partner, like, you get it done, right? And so we didn't know how to make. It's very easy to make a pickle at home. It is significantly harder to scale and make a lot of pickles compared to sauerkraut or kimchi. And so we didn't know what we were doing. We launched with a co-packer, but it's expensive, the quality wasn't there. And so when we did our Series A, we acquired a small competitor brand in Northern California. I had known the CEO for years, and a friendly competitor. He was in his 70s, looking to kind of hang up his hat, but we believed they had the best, pickles, the recipes, the science behind it. The guy was kind of done well in tech. He was an engineer scientist. And so he was applying that to food, and then he had the relationships with the growers, specifically, Mexico cucumber growers, as well as North America, that we didn't have. So it made sense to acquire, learn, have an operation out west that could service all these new Safeway Albertsons and everything we were selling into. And so it was a great idea. We probably overpaid. We got it done, but within a year, there was so many difficulties, particularly with the landlord over there and whatnot. Like, I had to shut down that plant, bring it all back to Cleveland, and now we're making everything here. And that was like another inflection point of like, we have to really, really get good manufacturing people, and we really need good middle management, and we can't keep doing this versus like myself and my two, my brother and my brother-in-law, where we're so hands-on with everything. Like, I need really good people, because things could go awry. And anyway, that was an inflection point where we're going to double down. Like, we're investing in bringing all this manufacturing back to Cleveland, and we got to make this thing work. So there's a lot of points like that.
Yeah, I imagine there would have to be. So thanks for sharing a couple of those. So I want to continue on. You mentioned something a little bit before about your own personal growth, and you were kind of alluding to it a little bit here. So tell us what it's been like on a personal angle for you, how you've had to change in order to keep up with the needs for you to stay on top of things as the company's gone. And what are some of the areas that you've found that you've had to work on or look at yourself differently? Tell us a little bit about that.
Between myself and my co-founders, like, My brother is a rainmaker. He's head of commercial sales. He is, I'm 6'6", he's 6'9". He's memorable. Like, he plays to his strengths. Like, he's a relationship guy. People really like him. So he's going top to top. He goes to Walmart top to top, Publix top to top, and like they recognize him, and he plays it. It's just really good. And he is very freeform, very like ethereal, can keep a lot of things in his mind, doesn't have to write things down as much. My brother-in-law, Luke, he's an architect. Processes, straight lines, written down. Like, there's a huge difference. I'm somewhere in the middle, but probably more towards my brother. And so I found